Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so today we're going to talk about, we got an election in a lot of cities around the country, in Texas, in Austin. We have early voting that starts next week. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about what is it, Waukesha? Waukesha. The Waukesha Parade mass murder trial has been, it's been going on for 15 days, and there has been a very little normalcy about it. And the suspect, Darrell Brooks, cried, laughed, interrupted the judge, and took his shirt off. Experts say this does not bode well for him. Also, we're going to dig into the legality of the shooting of the Kansas City firefighter. Man, this is drawing a lot of criticism around the country from this shooting. But you know what? We're going to talk about Texas law and how that relates to Texas law a little bit. And we have inside the studio, we have a special guest. We have someone that's running for office. So that's why I want to talk about, I got to talk about the homeless. You got to talk about, what's going on, for this election, because it's so important. We got to get to the polls. We got to go vote. You got to get your voice out there. You got to be heard. So we're going to talk about the election. We got so much stuff to go, to discuss. We're going to go around and talk about the gun news. We're going to talk about, there's a self-defense seminar at Central Texas Gun Works that's going to happen this week. We're going to talk about 80% lower receivers. Going to talk about the Baltimore. We're going to go to Baltimore, go to Milan. We're going to talk about a mother-daughter robbery. Boy, you guys are going to be shocked by this. A mother-daughter robbery. All right, and also, we're going to a 12-year-old with a gun. A quadruple shooting in Milwaukee, a Planned Parenthood, and Beto. What does Planned Parenthood and Beto have to do with each other? Going to talk about that. Border Patrol. And if you got, we just finished the F1 race. Zach, this year was the first year I didn't go to the track, on Sunday to, watch the any of the activities, at the track there, the Formula One racetrack. Normally, I get a chance to get out there. I drove by Saturday because we had to go to the gun range, and we go past the Formula One racetrack on Saturday. Mm-hmm. But I didn't get a chance to go by there today. And so I heard it was a lot of fun. A lot of people are out there. Great attendance. Man, I hope you enjoyed that F1 race. But you know what? Inside the studio, we have a special guest. Tell them your name and the office that you're running for.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, Michael. I appreciate this. So yes, my name's Yvonne Weld, and I am running for Austin City Council District 3, which includes parts of South Austin, Southeast Austin, and the east side as well. And we need to shake up the city council. We need to take back and repivot what's going on. Just this weekend, we've had 2 homicides that APD is investigating. The crime in our district is the second worst crime district. We have hundreds and hundreds of assaults, burglaries, over 800, last time I checked, was over 850 auto thefts in our district alone. We're we're in the top of the number of auto thefts. And so just dealing with the crime, dealing with the homeless. Our district, I would suspect, definitely has the highest number of homeless with all the different encampments, as well as the affordability would be the top 3 issues in our district.
The crazy thing is on Friday night, there are like 7 shootings in Austin. Mm-hmm. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 shootings. And then, and there was a stick fight. I forgot about that.
Hey.
Yeah, I know. And then also then Saturday, armed people with guns and knives fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, it was exciting in Austin, all while we're doing the F1 race.
So just down the street on Mopac, there was a man who was found in a car with a gunshot in the back of his head. So, yeah.
Ooh, man, a lot going on.
Mhm.
All right, so we're gonna talk about that. You know what? But let's talk about this crazy trial in the Waukesha Parade. You hear about that at all, Zach? At all?
Yeah, back when it happened, the Christmas parade.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a Christmas parade happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and so this happened back on November 21st of 2021. The driver of a sport utility vehicle killed 6 people and injured 62 others by hitting participants and observers at the annual Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Now, the alleged driver of the vehicle, 39-year-old Darrell Brooks, was arrested and charged with 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, as well as 77 additional charges. Brooks pled not guilty to the charges and chose to represent himself in court as a pro se litigant. And his trial began.
Wow.
Yeah, his trial began on October the 3rd. And let me tell you, this case has been going on for like 14, 15 days, and it's been absolutely just crazy. We have this video, some of the video of what's been going on inside the courtroom, and it's just been completely nuts. So, I don't know what goes through a person's head when you jump in a vehicle and you decide to use it. Is this an assault vehicle, Zach? Is that what he called an assault vehicle?
That's an assault vehicle. Yeah, it was an SUV.
SUV? All right. So, and is that why the mainstream media is probably not talking about it? Because
Well, they're not talking about the assault vehicle like they do assault rifles.
right. 6 people were killed and 62 injured. Man.
That's a lot.
And this case is not being covered by the mainstream media.
This guy's representing himself.
He's representing himself. And
That takes some stones.
if you've missed this, I'm telling you now, this case is exciting. Like I said, he's taking his shirt off. He's arguing back and forth with the judge, and it's just been like, dude, the jury is going to convict you like there's no tomorrow. He's going straight to jail.
Yeah, he's letting the crazy come out.
Oh, the crazy's out. I mean, the judge is like, look, dude, you're walking in here with an orange suit. How about you wear not the orange jumpsuit? How about you wear a regular suit so that way the jury don't know that you're actually in custody right now. And he's like arguing with the judge. I don't want to do it. Are you trying to make me do this? Why do I have to do this? I don't have to do this if I don't want to do this. Dude, straight crazy.
There's a picture of him, basically, since he's pro se, representing himself. He's thumbing through some of his paperwork, and he's got his handcuffs on while he's trying to go through his papers.
Wow. So we're going to talk about this mass murder trial that's going on in Wisconsin. We're also going to go around the country and talk about some of the gun news that's out there. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Chad Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, let's go to Waukesha, Wisconsin. All right, so Darrell Brooks, this is the Waukesha, Wisconsin Christmas Day Parade, or Christmas Parade. Darrell Brooks, he's going to be able to call his mother to the stand on Monday, October 24th, and also he'll be able to testify if he wants to. And the jury's going to be given instructions to begin their deliberation if he finishes everything on Monday. This is after a shocking end of the third week of trial, which saw the defendant, Darrell Brooks there, give the judge a stare down that she said scared her to the point where she had to call for a break in the proceedings. During the third week of the trial, the state rested its case after calling 57 witnesses over 11 days. Before resting, the prosecution focused on Brooks' arrest the night of the parade attack and Brooks' subsequently interviews with the detectives. The jury was also taken out of the courtroom to view the red SUV, and Brooks then delivered his deferred opening statement, crying as he told the jury he was speaking from the heart. Brooks then began to call defense witnesses representing himself. And then on Monday morning, so we're going to see, what's going to happen with his mother, with himself, and hopefully we can send this case to the jury. It's been pretty exciting. I don't know if you have a chance to look at some of the live video feed from the courtroom, but it's been pretty crazy. And we actually have a video for you. Take a listen to some of this stuff here.
To the courtroom without a shirt.
All right, we are back on the record. Appearances are as they were before. I need to make a record that at 8:42 a.m. this court ordered Mr. Brooks be removed from the courtroom due to repeated interruptions and disruption with the court. This, of course, comes on the recent history with Mr. Brooks. On every day that we have been in court since Monday, he has shown a complete and utter disrespect for the simple rules of civility. He has been removed from the courtroom multiple times. This morning alone, he started interrupting this court within a minute of the court calling the case. I should also make a record at the moment he is muted because of the way that he was removed from the courtroom and his conduct since. I have been given just a bit of information about it. I will advise everyone that I have required that the Sheriff's Department file a written report with the court regarding Mr. Brooks's conduct. I'm told that He would not sit down while in this courtroom in order to have the shackles removed so that he could be taken to the other courtroom, that he was resisting, that at one point he took off a shoe, and it appeared to the deputies that he was going to throw the shoe.
So, Bernarda, in that clip, she's discussing.
All right, so man, this guy is acting pretty nuts. And then representing yourself, there's like a little phrase for that. You know, who represents themselves? You know, definitely have a fool for a client. Yeah, you definitely shouldn't represent yourself. And then all this little display that he's putting on for the jury, they are going to convict this guy. You know, this is just man, it's a waste of time. It really is. Really
He's
complete.
crazy.
Yeah, complete waste of time. You definitely, you definitely should get an attorney. Let your attorney speak for you. Even attorneys get attorneys. I've actually had attorneys take our license to carry handgun course, and they sign up for the Texas Law Shield because as attorneys in law firms, they usually have someone else represent them. They don't represent themselves. So yeah, it's just I just don't get this guy. You know, don't get what's going on. Uh, I guess I should because that's why he jumped in a vehicle and drove over a bunch of people. You know. All right.
He took his shirt off in the courtroom.
All right, so we have inside the inside studio Yvonne. She's running for city council, Austin, Texas City Council. This week starts early voting. We got to get out there and vote. Early voting starts around the country, a lot of different states. So definitely get out there and start voting this week because we have a serious problem with crime and we don't have enough law enforcement officers. We don't, we don't, man, it's crazy when you call 911 and you don't have a dispatcher, to answer the call because you're put on hold. So that seems to be a problem. You have police officers, paid police officers that are answering 911 calls now in the city of Austin. And we have serious, major events that are going on right now. Whether it's a UT football game, whether it's a soccer game, whether it's the Formula One race, whether it's the Austin City Limits concert that's going on, and we don't have enough law enforcement officers to respond to the calls. There's a bank robbery this week. One day, 7 shootings happening in a time span of about 3 or 4 hours in this city. That's unheard of in Austin. Austin's not like that. We're typically not like that. Used to be a nice city. 4 years ago, this is a very nice place. 4 years ago. Now it's just it's definitely different. So, Yvonne, tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you're going to do that's different. How are you going to, what can we do with the homeless situation? Because we have a lot of crime that's coming from the homeless population. So how can we fix that? What can we do as far as our law enforcement? Because there is a group of people that are saying they want to defund the police or they want less law enforcement because they feel that they can patrol themselves.
Certainly, I remember back in 2019 when Brian Manley was speaking before the city council, and maybe not. He was speaking out about the shortage of law enforcement and how we were going into a critical state if we were not to increase staffing. And just going through and watching how the city council continuously neglected those warnings that were happening. Going into 2020 and watching the defund the police and what was happening with that particular movement, we have demoralized and just really hurt our police department to where police officers are retiring, quitting as quickly as they can. Many of them are taking early retirement or just outright resigning, foregoing what retirement they have earned just because they want to get out. So yes, we need to certainly reinstate our police staffing. It's been going on for months and months, the 911 crisis where people are waiting on hold 5, 10, 15 minutes, in addition to the response times for the police to be able to respond to major incidents. So increasing our police, but how we do that, there's been a number of reports that say that even if we were to expedite the classes, it could take 8-10 years for us to get fully staffed. And so in addition to aggressively increasing the staffing, we need to also retain all the officers that we have. We can't lose anymore. So whatever it's going to take with the contracts that are upcoming, contract negotiations, and finding ways to be able to retain the staff we have. In addition to that, we're going to need to rebuild the reputation that was damaged, going back into the communities and being proactive with how we interact with the police and how the police are interacting with the public. The fourth thing, though, that's an important part of this, and this is all simultaneous. We can't just do one without the other, but is dealing with the prosecution of the crimes. I keep hearing this term victimless crime, and I do not believe that there is a victimless crime. But we have both our county attorney and our district attorney who are not, taking on these cases, and just basically as soon as somebody comes in, they're not even taking the case and dismissing those cases. And so we're going to have to address that as well.
Mm. And so, tell us, how can we find you, Yvonne? How can people, support you, vote for you?
So my website is at yvonneforoustin.com, YVONNE for Austin.com. They can find me on Twitter, YWeldon. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram now. Just Google search. You'll be able to find me very easily. If not, like I said, I'll even give you my number, 512-893-2333. Leave a message and I'll respond with my information.
Okay. All right. And so, let me ask you a couple questions there,
Okay.
Yvonne. So, as far as the homeless situation, we have there's a little camp there in East Austin, nice little privately owned facility there. What's your thoughts on that?
There's dozens and dozens of camps in East Austin. There are, is kind of, underestimated, but there's likely thousands just in our district alone. Go down.
Not the homeless camps, but I'm talking about the facilities that people have come together to get them off the street.
Camp Esperanza, yes. Okay, so I did get to tour Camp Esperanza, and I followed that from the beginning when TxDOT was cleaning out the bridges, and the state opened up that facility for homeless, for a sanctioned camp type situation. They have stopped taking in new residents or new neighbors or new homeless, and they are now going to a tiny home model, kind of similar to what Community First Village has done. And it's one of dozens of different models or different options for folks here in the Austin area who are dealing. I'm trying to say this politically correct, but who are experiencing homelessness.
All right, we come back from the break. I'm gonna come back to you.
All right.
And let you talk about that a little more. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, "I invoke my right to remain silent," and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back. You know what? I want to talk about the shooting of the firefighter. I want to go to that one real quick before we get too far into the show, because a firefighter was shot and killed in Kansas, and there's a lot of controversy around this particular shooting. And here, all right, so this is in Kansas City, and a woman who fatally shot a firefighter in Independence, Kansas Independence, Missouri, is not going to be charged by the district attorney. And a lot of people are upset about that. They want her to be charged. And we're going to show this video to you, and I want you to see why. The off-duty Kansas City firefighter, 41-year-old Anthony Santee, was on top of and restraining a 23-year-old man in a chokehold outside of an Independence gas station when the woman who was standing to the left of the vehicle there she left the vehicle and she was in and yelled at the men to try to break up the fight. And she fired a round that hit Santee in the back, ultimately killing him. Now, a couple things you got to understand. You got to understand the stand your ground law. You have to understand there's another little law that we have here in Texas that I'm going to go over. That's in 9.31, self-defense. And it's going to surprise a lot of people because you don't know this little clause is in there. And if you actually have a good attorney, a good self-defense attorney, they can bring this little clause up and get you off a particular case. The Jackson County prosecutor's office decided not to move forward with a second-degree murder charge against the woman because they could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was acting outside of Missouri's self-defense law. Now, take a look at this video here. All right. And so what we're looking at is if you're you're driving down the road there, you're looking at the firefighter who's actually on top of the young man and pushing his head to the ground. And the guy right now, the lady is standing next to the vehicle and she actually has a firearm in her hand. And she's trying to pull the firefighter off what I believe is her son, I think, off the firefighter off this guy. And he refused to get off. She's trying to pull him. She's trying to hit him. And then he starts choking the young man he's on top of. And I believe the young man actually started the fight with the firefighter. I think he initiated this encounter. And so now the firefighter's on top of this, after the young man actually started it, he's now choking the young man. And the lady's trying to get him off. And then she pulls out a gun. Well, she points the gun at him, and then she ends up shooting him. Now, there's some things that we have. We have the stand your ground law. Anywhere you have a right to be, as long as you're not committing a crime, as long as you're not trespassing, as long as, this person's committing aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, aggravated robbery, you can use force, deadly force to stop that person. So if she perceived him as to being someone who's trying to kill this young man on the ground, then she would be justified in using force, deadly force to stop him. Now, there's also some other things in the law there. You have and I like to refer you to like 9.31 of the self-defense portion of the Texas Penal Code, where it talks about you using force or deadly force to stop someone to protect yourself. But before we do that, Zach, I'm going to get your opinion on this video here.
So the young man that was being choked on the ground by the firefighter, he illegally had a firearm, and that was why the firefighter was choking him.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
All right. You think he illegally had a firearm?
Well, he was charged with firearm possession.
So he was?
Mm-hmm.
What about her?
Javon Taylor.
Okay.
She was released after 24 hours.
Okay. So what do you think? Because I was talking to Gary about this, and he was like, dude, he started the fight. He got the bottom end of it. The kid on the ground.
Yeah, and then he wants to, he gave his gun to his girlfriend while he was on the ground, right?
You're right.
Looked like a Glock with an extended mag.
Okay.
Yeah, he started the fight and then lost it.
Okay. All right. So there is something in the Texas Penal Code that talks about, the use of force against another is not justified. All right. And so it gets into if the actor provoked the other's use or attempt to use of unlawful force, the actor abandons, and then it says the actor abandons the encounter or clearly communicates to the other his intent to do so, reason believing he cannot safely abandon the encounter, and the other nevertheless continues or attempts to use unlawful force against the actor. Now, this is a situation where, let's say you start the fight. I start the fight. All of a sudden, I'm now losing the fight that I started, and you're blocking my way, or you're trying to kill me. Then it changes. Now I'm justified using force to the force to stop you from killing me.
So you're saying that someone can start a fight here in Texas, and then when they see that they're not going to win, and they just say, "Hey, okay, I quit," and then if the other person
even
doesn't,
after you provoke them,
you can
the
provoke
law says, and I quote, "The use of force against another is not justified if the actor provoked the other's use or attempt to use of unlawful force." But then it says, unless the actor,
unless you say uncle,
unless the actor abandons the encounter or clearly communicates to the other his intent to do so, reason believing he cannot safely abandon the encounter, and the other nevertheless continues or attempts to use unlawful force against the actor.
But it sounds like this guy is getting a firearms charge.
Yeah.
This guy who was at the bottom end of this brawl.
Because he shouldn't have brought a gun to the fight in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But then what about the lady? So if they're not charging her with anything,
well,
that tells me there's something.
What do you think would happen if she got charged, right? If she got charged for shooting the white guy, then, do you think that there would be, problems in the street after that? I think there would be, things that happen, protests and such.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. I know.
There will be no protests for what happened.
Right.
For how it, how it went down with her being released.
Right. So I can see where she's justified though, because she's looking at, and was it her son?
That's her boyfriend.
Boyfriend,
right?
Okay. A boyfriend, son, whoever. He's on the ground. He's being choked by this other guy, and she's like, "Get off him! Stop! Stop! You're choking him. You're killing him!" And then she points the gun and shoots and kills him. I can see where she's justified.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Texas, you mean?
In Texas, on the Texas law, I can see where it's justified.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't know. Take a look at the video for yourself. Show me where I'm wrong. I'm just looking at the law. I look at the law and I break it down the way the law says. And hey, a good attorney, got to get a good attorney. Don't get that tax attorney.
So is that what is colloquially known as the start the fight, lose the fight clause?
Start the fight, lose the fight clause. There you go. It's in the law. It's in there.
Good to know.
That's right. Get a good attorney. They can help you get off that case. They understand the law. Don't get that tax attorney.
So you can go around with a gun, provoking fights, and then losing them. And if the other person doesn't just immediately abandon, then you can use deadly force.
The law says
you can provoke the actions that you use the deadly force against.
If the actor provoked the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force, unless the actor abandons the encounter or clearly communicates to the other his intent to do so, reason believing he cannot safely abandon the encounter, and the other nevertheless continues or attempts to use unlawful force against the actor.
So what you're saying sounds like you can go assault someone and then run away, and if they come after you, then you can shoot them. You can use deadly force?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The actor abandons the encounter or clearly communicates to the other his intent to do so, Reezy believing he cannot safely abandon the encounter, and the other nevertheless continues or attempts to use unlawful force against the actor.
That's interesting, to say the least. It's an interesting clause.
Mm-hmm. It's in there. So,
what do you think about that, Yvonne?
It's in there.
I'm thinking about one particular case right now with, I think his name is Sergeant Perry, who used self-defense
Daniel Perry.
During the as an Uber driver, and I'm kind of curious how that's going to play into that.
Yeah. So with him, let's see, he was a sergeant, United States Army, Daniel Perry, Sergeant Perry, working part-time for a rideshare company.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2020, June, July timeframe in Austin when everything was shut down. And then he dropped off a passenger on the 4th Street. He goes to Congress, makes a right turn onto Congress. When he makes that right turn onto Congress, that's when there were a group of protesters in the roadway. And they immediately surrounded his vehicle. He came to a stop, didn't hit anyone. And they started pounding on the vehicle. He had his window down. And on his driver's side, there was a guy outside the vehicle.
Garrett Foster.
Who had tactical gear on, wearing a face mask with an AK-47, kind of pointed in like a high ready, and with Garrett Foster, with Daniel Perry being inside the vehicle, I guess perceived this person as someone who's trying to kill him, pulled out his handgun that he had concealed between his center console and his seat, fired 5 shots, shot Garrett Foster there, and stopped him. And so he then proceeded on, and by the way, the crowd dispersed. When he fired those shots, the crowd immediately cleared his path. He continued on to 2nd Street, made a left turn onto 2nd Street, called 911, and waited for police to show up. I think he's justified. I think that's also a justified shooting.
Yeah. Sounded like he didn't.
See, I'm
really
very
right?
fair. I'm very fair, and I think I look at the law and I apply, each case to what the law says. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at color. I don't care about color. I let the police department, I let the media and deal with that and cover it the way they're gonna cover it. Because they're gonna do with it whatever they say.
They sure will.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Hey. There's a nice little YouTube video that if you mess around, you may find out.
Mm-hmm.
Mess around, find out.
That's right. We're gonna play that on the break. If you mess around, you may find out. And the more you mess around is the more you find out.
Well, the acronym MAFO, right?
Yeah, MAFO. The more you MAFO is the more you the more you mess around is the more you find out. But if you go down here, if you don't mess around, then you won't find out. We come back from the break. We're going to talk about that and more. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and
All right, today we're going to talk about how we can find out and how much we can find out and what it takes to get there. So first we have to decide how much do we want to find out. So let's say in this case, I want to find out at a level of 7. Okay, so I find that level on my graph and I come horizontally to my gradient line. Where it intersects with my gradient line, I'm going to come straight down to where it intersects with my fuck around line. That there is going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. So I hope this lesson is helpful. Thank you.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so this week we're going to have a self-defense seminar because if you watch the video during the break, you found out. For sure. Okay? If you mess around, you'll find out. And so we want to keep you from messing around so that way you will never, ever find out. So definitely attend our self-defense legal seminar with our attorneys at Central Texas Gunworks this week. It's going to be on October 26th at 6:30 p.m. And it's going to be hosted in our classroom there so that way you can learn, and ask those hard questions to the attorneys of what you should and should not do, what you can and cannot do, what you should and should not say. So that way you will never, ever find out. All right. And so, you know what we did this week, Zach?
What?
We filed a lawsuit.
Another one?
Yes, against the Biden administration.
What'd you file for this time?
All right. So this week we're suing, we filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration for weaponizing the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives, the ATF, in shutting down lawful abiding gun retailers. They're trying to shut down the gun stores. And so basically what happened is President Joe Biden ordered the Department of Justice in June of 2021 to enforce zero tolerance for willful violations of the law by federally licensed firearms dealers that put public safety at risk. But after about 500% increase in federal firearms license revocations for the retailers over the last year, it's clear the Biden administration isn't just going after gun sailors or who intentionally violate the law. Punishing minor shop owners. The lawsuit argues that it draws on a drastically different interpretation of the law than what the definition really actually says. We're talking about the Gun Control Act of 1968. The lawsuit, to which the federal government has 60 days to respond, also argues that the Biden administration's new policy sets an unreasonable high standard that is not applied to any other industry. For example, hospitals. My goodness, if we walked into the hospitals, inspected hospitals, we would probably have no hospitals in this country if we did a zero tolerance policy. And so that's why, I filed this lawsuit this week. There's no business that you walk into today in this country where they don't make a mistake. And so, everyone makes a mistake. It's not fair. It's not right to single out just gun stores, which is what I see the current administration doing. So basically, if you walk into the gun store, you fill out the 4473, the background check form, and there's a spot in there that says county, and instead of the county, you put in the country, which is a very common mistake that some people do.
One letter difference.
That's right. Then they will shut me down.
Unless you catch it and make them.
Unless I catch that mistake and correct it before they inspect me.
They will shut you down?
Shut me down because you put country instead of county.
So it kind of sounds like this is de facto gun control without actually going through the steps to change the law and have Congress actually pass gun control. And it sounds really similar to what we're seeing with the credit card companies and basically other lending agencies not lending to gun manufacturers and people in the gun industry. They've also added a tag to gun purchases, Visa and MasterCard, so that they are under a different category now. Instead of general merchandise, which they used to be.
Right.
Now they're tagged as firearms or something like that. And a lot of retailers and people at some step of the process of making guns are losing their funding because these companies are basically taking their money away and not allowing them to do business as they were. And that's de facto gun control.
Wow. Thomas says 40% of all medications is in the era of a hospital. We had some retired FBI come to our VFW meeting seeking veterans who would provide unarmed security for our schools. That's a big no-go for me. I've been getting a number of emails from Texas Law Shield announcing the free concert. All right, so, yeah, he's talking about a free concert. There's a free concert I guess Texas Law Shield is putting on, and I think it's at a some type of a no gun zone. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna reach out. I'll reach out to them about that. I'll find out from Texas Law Shield about what that is and what's going on, and that you guys have some problems with that. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to go to a concert where I can't bring my gun either. So it's put on by a gun attorney. So yeah, I'll definitely talk to him about it for sure. But back to this lawsuit. We're doing this lawsuit. We're also going to file. There's another lawsuit we're going to file. I can't tell you what it is right now because we're kind of working on it right now. But there's still another one that we're going to file as well against the administration as well. So we're doing our best, to shut them down on what they're doing, because I think they're stepping out of what Congress has actually written for the law. Congress says, hey, this here is the law. And so you have the ATF and the Biden administration actually stepping way outside of those bounds and going and pushing the envelope, stretching it a lot further than where it's supposed to go. So we have no choice but to do some of these things. And I'm hoping that some people actually step up to the plate and assist us, with this case as well, because we also have the bump stock lawsuit that's in the Fifth Circuit that within the next 30 days, we should hear the results of the Fifth Circuit to find out where we stand in this case. Because if we're successful in the bump stock case that's in the Fifth Circuit, then that's going to open the door for a bunch of other lawsuits that we can file to get the ATF to stop doing what they're doing.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Yeah, I know. It's okay, Joe. It's okay, Joe. You're going to be all right. We're coming for you. We're going the correct route.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, the correct route. We're gonna walk in through the front door. We're not gonna come through the back of the side. We're coming for you. All right, so Yvonne, tell us. I'm telling you, Yvonne, this situation with traffic in Austin, and man, the mayor Kirk Watson. He's I've seen some commercials about him, what he's planning on doing with traffic. And I was sitting back there thinking, hold on, Kirk Watson, he was mayor of Austin. He's the reason we have a traffic problem. So all of a sudden, he's going to solve the traffic problem that he created? What in the world is this man thinking? I guess some people, we have a lot of new people that have moved here to Texas, and they moved to Austin, so they're not aware that at one time he was actually mayor. And he refused to widen I-35. He refused to do a lot of, highway projects, city projects that we need to get done to eliminate the traffic problem, and this was like, we're talking 10 or 15 years ago. And he's the reason why we have a traffic issue. And all of a sudden, he's going to fix the problem now? No, I'm not falling for the okie doke. If we put this guy back in office, we're insane. Because he literally is responsible for the traffic issue that we're dealing with today.
Yeah, the city of Austin needs to get out of the way. TxDOT has already proposed a plan as far as widening I-35, and I think a lot of Austinites that are semi-new here, they don't realize that this is an interstate. This is an interstate that goes, it's a primary route from Mexico to Canada, and it's not something that's going to go away. And it's a bottleneck right now. Just daily traffic, it backs up well past Slaughter into South Austin, bumper to bumper, and then just travels into Austin. It definitely needs to expand. So I believe that the city of Austin is actually hindering what needs to be done as far as focusing on expanding I-35. When there's one truck accident, it disables the entire city. So we're going to need to expand this. We're also going to need to look at additional routes, expanding 130. One concern, though, is by not expanding I-35, it is going to divert a lot of the traffic to the side roads, going down Chacon from east of I-35 or taking South First Congress. It'll turn those into major thoroughfares, and it's going to decimate those neighborhoods. So we're going to have to expand I-35.
All right. And so I know they're thinking about going underneath I-35 through downtown.
So I've looked a little bit into that, and it does concern me a little bit about how that's going to do that and how that's going to the neighborhoods that's going to impact. So I'm not certain that that's the best route. One thing I would like to see us do is to bring the right people, the right engineers, those that are experts in this, to take a look at it and have a different set of eyes on it. We got Elon Musk, who's got a tunnel building a tunnel company, the Boring Company, and bring some of these experts in who can give us a different approach, possibly, that we may not have been able to see.
Yeah, because I remember when north of Austin, right around Georgetown, they decided to dig deep, and what happened was they found a cave,
right?
And so they end up having to go around because they dug too deep, right? And there's caves, so there could be caves. We have an aquifer, we have different things that are underneath. So we may not be able to go that deep. So that may cause a problem. And once you dig and you disturb something, you can't go back.
And I'm old enough to remember when they were building MOPAC and just the delays on that whenever they found a nature, like I think it was a bird's nest or something. And it delayed the project 6-8 months just because of the planning that was involved in it. Right. However, in that area.
When we come back, Yvonne, from the break, I'll let you finish on that. Okay. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief that there was an immediate threat of harm that would justify an act of force or deadly force. Even in this situation, I would be very cautious. Now, if this situation escalates even further, where the person has actually made physical contact with your vehicle, whether they are beating on it with an instrument, with their fist, or they're attempting to open your door, this would give you the facts that you would need to show that you had a reasonable belief that that individual was unlawfully and forcefully attempting to either enter your vehicle or remove you from your vehicle. This is very, very important because this falls under what is commonly known in Texas as the Castle Doctrine.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, let's talk about another Texas smackdown for the ATF there. U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas has delivered another victory in the battle against the ATF's arbitrarily rule-making there. This time, it's the new rules on unfinished frames, receivers, and kits. We're talking about the 80% lower receivers. The case is Vanderstock versus Garland and is being heard by District Judge Reed O'Connor in Fort Worth. In a ruling issued Tuesday, Judge O'Connor added Blackhawk Manufacturing, better known as 80% Arms, as a separate plaintiff to the lawsuit. Blackhawk is one of the largest producers of 80% frames and kits. We're talking about 80% low receivers here. In an earlier ruling filed on September the 2nd, the court determined that the ATF's new rule likely exceeds the agency's authority under the Gun Control Act. With that finding, Judge O'Connor issued a preliminary injunction that bars the ATF from enforcing its new rules against tactical machining. And the injunction was later expanded to include tactical machining's customers. Judge O'Connor wrote, "Hey, plaintiffs have shown a strong likelihood that they will succeed on the merits of their claims that the ATF's new definitions are inconsistent with the Gun Control Act." With the addition of Blackhawk as a named plaintiff, the court would seem to be inclined to expand the preliminary injunction to protect Blackhawk and its customers. And Blackhawk filed a motion for an expansion of the injunction on Thursday. This is a big, huge setback for the ATF, because the door has been opened for other manufacturers to join the lawsuit and push hard for a nationwide injunction, which is the ultimate goal until the question of the ATF's tactics can make it to the Supreme Court. And the court has already slapped down the EPA over similar actions, so there is very reason to hope for the rogue ATF to be reined in as well. And that's why the bump stock case is a very important case, because that would be the case, I think, that's the furthest along that can actually rein them in. That's why that case is very important. It will affect everything that we're talking about. 80% low receivers, triggers, AR pistols, braces, affect all that stuff. That's why this is very important. So, but Yvonne, we're talking about, the traffic there a little bit. We're talking about digging underneath I-35 in Austin. And I want to give you a chance to finish your thought and also go, talk a little bit more about the homeless.
All right. Well, thanks. Yeah. Roads are going to be a huge problem, a huge part of this, the solution to the traffic problems. In addition to effective public transportation, Project Connect is a nightmare with
What is that? What is Project
Project
Connect?
Connect is actually, I think it's referred to as Project Con, but it was um, this endeavor that the city sold us on this fake proposal to collect a lot of tax revenue from us to supposedly create a public transportation system that will never be able to happen. Kind of as you mentioned before, our infrastructure just cannot handle it. The being able to put it, train lines underground, crossing Town Lake into South Austin. There are going to be some, parts of it that can work, such as being able to go from downtown to the new soccer stadium and possibly downtown to the airport. However, the rest of it, it's almost impossible for it to be able to do, as well as the cost that it's going to take for just a fraction of what they want to be able to do is going to be a lot more than what they sold us on.
I mean, luckily, where the soccer stadium is, there's a rail right there anyway.
Right.
So it's going to be easy for them to, just jump on that rail, walk over from the soccer stadium, jump on the train, and head downtown.
Right.
I think that's fairly simple. They just need to speed the train up a little bit, possibly. And then about the homeless.
So yeah, about homelessness. So that's one of the top issues in District 3. As far as being able to find solutions, we actually have dozens and dozens of solutions. We have Community First Village and different models. Salvation Army. I toured the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center in our district on Congress, and when I went through this incredible tour that effectively helps those that are coming out of drug addiction and alcoholism. That at the end of the tour, I was told that there's rarely a waiting list, and the reason why is because it's an effective program that works, but people actually have to go through a process to be able to participate. And the city, I feel like, does a lot to keep people from using those effective resources. Community First Village is another successful model. In order to be at Community First Village, you have 3 rules. You have to pay rent, you have to live by community rules, and you have to live by civil laws. However, folks don't want to do that. They would rather do their own thing, and the city is enabling them to do that. So as long as we continue the funding, the Housing First, the low barrier programs that the city is offering, it's not giving those that need those resources and to be able to utilize them.
All right, let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Because a lot of these people don't want help.
That's right.
They want to do drugs.
Exactly.
They want to get high.
Right.
They want to stick a needle in their arm.
Okay.
And so, what do we do with that? Because they want to leave on the street. They want to be able to do drugs and have access to their drug dealers.
So we need to enforce the camping ban. I mean, let's just go back to, let's just cut to it. We need to be able to, it's illegal. It's illegal to, camp illegally. It's illegal to do the drugs, and we need to enforce the camping ban. Homelessness is not a crime, just like driving's not a crime unless you're drunk or you have no license and you get pulled over, you run a red light. And so when that happens, the police officer gives you a citation, you go to the you go to the municipal court. In the same way, we have a downtown Austin community court. It's a court of law. And this community court, though, however, has resources. They can help people with, let's say that they got arrested multiple times for being homeless. They can help remove those charges, but they can help them with things like job skills, life skills, even SNAP benefits, health care benefits, and directing them to resources that can be able to help. It's not the police officer's job to find them housing, and it's and if we don't have, we need to enforce the rules. We need to get the people off the streets and get them moving into the system that can help them with the resources they need to be able to move on.
All right, awesome. And then one more time, tell us your website.
It's YvonneForAustin.com, YVONNE for Austin.com.
What's your last name?
Weldon.
Yvonne Weldon.
Yes.
There you go. Yvonne Weldon. And early voting starts when?
Tomorrow.
All right, and goes until and election day is when?
Is November 8th.
All right, and there's also some other things that are on the ballot. Now, you're just not selecting candidates for city council and for mayor. There's some other things that are on the ballot as well.
Oh, that's, absolutely. We've got, of course, we got the governor's race. We got state representatives, school board, all the way down to the local ACC or AISD races.
And then Zach, man, how do you think that governor's race is going?
I mean, Abbott's going to win, right?
Hell yes.
Of course, Abbott's going to win. I don't know what people are thinking about. I don't know why there's even a doubt there.
He just got endorsed by the Dallas.
Abbott's going to win governor, and then Abbott is going to, I think he's going to run for president.
Wasn't there some voter fraud that was just busted recently?
Oh, yeah, there was. We have a story
They're
about
registering dead voters.
Planned Parenthood.
Average age that they've been deceased is like 10 years or something.
Yeah, so Wednesday, the Republican Party of Texas announced further confirmation of a Planned Parenthood Texas votes attempting to register deceased voters, with the Democrat gubernatorial challenger Robert Beto O'Rourke now attempting the same scheme. Last week, the Texas GOP announced they had received numerous reports of Planned Parenthood attempting to register deceased voters.
Wow.
So if you add in all these dead voters, then
he could pull it through.
Yeah, with enough dead voters, sure.
Ooh, man.
These dead people aren't going to vote for Abbott, right?
No, definitely not. All right. Let's go to Baltimore real quick. There's Baltimore. There's actually a video out of Baltimore. Police released this video of a brutal light rail murder, $8,000 award over in Baltimore, where detectives are still looking for the gunman who killed a 41-year-old Daniel Brewer on October the 5th, approximately at 7:30 p.m. at the light rail stop. The video shows the masked suspect walking up to Brewer on the station platform and suddenly pulling out a gun, and police have not revealed any potential motive. Man, just out of the blue. And you're seeing things like this happening all over the country, in all of these major cities where we've defunded the police, we've taken resources from the police, or we just killed their morale. Just simple as that. The morale is down of the police department, where they just don't, hey, you know what, fine, I'll just clock in and just sit in my car, why do anything, because, I'm going to get, maybe blamed for something that I, didn't do.
Baltimore has the highest homicide per capita rate in the country.
Really?
Yep.
Ooh, it's getting bad. It's getting bad out there. All right, so I'm telling you, within the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, we're going to actually file another lawsuit against the federal government. We'll tell you about that. We're moving along here. We're going to come back to you and ask you for your support. Definitely come on to Central Texas Gunworks. Come to our Law Shield event that's happening this week. Sign up. Talked about that. And, gun stores are supposed to be the database for law enforcement for the ATF. We're not supposed to be working against each other. So, whenever there's some bad guys out there, we're supposed to go out there and try to get those bad guys. As always, more. All right, we come back from the break. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about more. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Brittany Glaze, and I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
Man, Zach, did you hear about that mother-daughter tag team crime spree in Austin, Texas?
They're getting stuff done, huh?
They're getting it done. Mother and daughter accused of drugging and robbing people earlier this year while posing as rideshare drivers in downtown Austin. You know, just imagine yourself coming to Austin, Texas. You're coming for an event. You're here for a bachelor party, bachelorette party. You're coming in for South by Southwest or ACL, and all of a sudden you get drugged and robbed.
They stole more than $55,000.
$55,000. That's right.
Gave them over-the-counter sleep meds
and put them to sleep. I'm telling you now. If you don't do something different when you go to the polls, you're gonna, mess around and you're gonna find out.
And there were 5 additional
It's one of the
suspects.
5 safest big cities in the country.
The more you mess around, the more you find out.
Oof, they're messing around.
Yeah. So allegedly the robbers, let me see, hold on. The police department says 44-year-old Sharon Jacobs and her daughter, 23-year-old Tamaya Jacobs, drugged their victim with over-the-counter sleep medication and stole credit cards and cell phones, and they later used them to steal more than $55,000 throughout Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee.
Hey, Michael, here's the kicker.
Uh-oh.
You know where they're from?
Where are they from? Don't say Florida.
Florida.
No, don't say Florida.
Uh-huh. 2 women from Florida.
Not my Florida. No.
Florida. I mean, if the shoe fits.
They're crazy in Florida. Nothing but crazy over in Florida. Y'all, I'm sorry, my Floridians. I love you guys. I love all of you in Florida, but you're crazy.
Wow, and the mom in this duo looks like a WWE wrestler.
Crack 1 and crack 2.
She looks like someone you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, like she can take you out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's rough. Well, it's crazy. So you just gotta, man. What do? You think, but the rideshare, the app and everything. You think you'd be safe.
Well, the app tells you what kind of car is going to be picking you up, the color of it, the license plate, everything.
But people are drunk when they're downtown at 2:00 in the morning, 2:30, 2:45.
Well, I mean,
whose
fault is that?
Mess around and find out.
That's messing around.
The more you mess around, the more you find out.
When you go downtown and get drunk, you're messing around to an extent.
So don't mess around so you don't find out.
What were there, 9 shootings this weekend? 7 or murders, right?
7 shootings.
Shootings. Okay.
7 shootings.
7 shootings.
2 homicides.
2 homicides.
And a stabbing and a beating with a stick.
Oh, that's busy.
Well, I love this.
So yeah, if you just go there on the weekend, then you're messing around.
I can't imagine what's going to happen if the same people get elected into office. It's going to be great for business. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be great for business.
When Republicans are in office, it's bad for gun sales, right?
That is correct. So you know what? Don't listen to me. Hey, don't do what I tell you to do. Do me a favor. Put these same people back in office. That way I can get to Florida sooner. Where all the cray-crays are.
Wait, get to Florida? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Get to Florida?
I want to retire to Florida.
What?
I can't
No, don't do it.
Yeah, give me
Don't leave us.
in like 15, 20 years. Can I get 20 years? In 20 years, can I be in Florida in 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Sure.
So don't put the same people back in office. That way I can get there faster. Maybe 15 years. All right. So man, got a sad story out of this is out of Miami. Actually, a U.S. Custom and Border Protection agent was fatally shot while he was doing a demonstration on how to search a building during a training session at a firearms range in Florida. This happened this past Wednesday. So they were doing like some kind of demonstration, and sources says they were conducting like a building search training with another instructor just before like 10:30 a.m. in the morning, when one of the instructors shot the other instructor in the chest twice. The wounded agent was airlifted to a trauma center in Miami, and I'm not sure how in the world this actually happened. One, why'd you have live ammo, And it's just, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Dozens of law enforcement officers were gathered outside the hospital. A giant American flag was hung and suspended, between two fire trucks outside the hospital. And I just need more detail. I need someone to tell me a little more detail on how this happened, because there's so many different, things that went wrong here when it comes to gun ranges, when it comes to shooting, when it comes to doing exercises. There's so many things that went wrong here, and I just don't see how someone could have been shot.
Yeah, two in the chest. Ooh,
Two in the chest.
not going to recover from that.
No. So very sad situation there. So when it comes to training, don't point the gun at anything you don't want to kill or destroy. You need to make sure you check and verify that all guns are unloaded when you're doing these different training exercises, or you're using other, other things there for these different training exercises. So, man, very sad situation there. So let's go back to the election a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about that, because all this, I hear a lot of people getting phone calls from Beto, from the Beto camp.
Hell yes.
And I'm hearing, people talking about the fact that, you can get an abortion, in any age, he's all for it. What are some of the things you're hearing? You hear anything crazy?
It's all crazy.
Yvonne, anything?
Well, in my district, we have 2 of the 4 major Planned Parenthood centers in my district.
Oh, wow.
And so,
And they're usually located in, like poor districts.
absolutely, yeah. One's on Ben White and one's on 7th.
Correct.
And so, yeah, it's
Oh, wait, your district is Ben White in Congress?
So yeah, actually, your store is in my district.
Oh my goodness, that is the worst area in town. We
And
deal
all
with
of
so
East Riverside
much.
from 35 to 290, right?
Yeah, all the way to
71.
Dan's Hamburgers on Airport.
That's where all the stabbings, all the shootings happening. Everything, whether someone's staggering across the street, we have people that are randomly drunk show up in the parking lot,
Right.
or high. It's crazy. The hospitals, they're getting hit with like people that are just ODing. It's just insane.
Right. So yeah, it's that's one of the things though in our district though is we don't have the resources to actually help. Let's say a woman who's going through an unplanned pregnancy, being able to walk with her through that, being able to provide the resources that she needs, the basic needs. So we're so focused on just getting her the abortion rather than the services that are needed, formula, baby, diapers, and milk, and just other services that are needed. We're not focused on those. We're only focused on.
What do you think? What do you think we should do? How can we solve that problem?
I think first thing everyone needs to do is take a look at who they're voting for, starting with the governor. We got mayor. I know I've looked at Jennifer Bearden. I know has some really strong conservative values with that. City council, Bill Welch, District 5. So yeah, just making sure you do your homework on who you're going to be voting for. Clinton Rary, District 1.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely get out there and check some of the different groups and stuff like that.
Right.
But you got to do something different. We got to put something opposite of what's in there now, because the people that are there now are the one that have caused the problem. So we need we got to do opposite of what we have now. I cannot stress that enough. I don't care how you vote, but we got to do something totally different than what's there now.
That's right.
We got some breaking news coming out of Fort Belvoir. The FBI says that the barricade situation at the Fort Belvoir Army base in Virginia has been resolved, and that a subject has been taken into custody. This began around 8 a.m. Sunday morning. Local law enforcement, military, police, and the FBI Washington Field Office National Capital Response Squad were responding to an active barricaded situation at U.S. Army Base Fort Belvoir in Fairfax County, Virginia. Around 3 p.m., after a 7-hour standoff, the situation was resolved and a subject was taken into custody, according to a tweet from the FBI Washington Field Office. And no details on the motive, the nature of the threat, or persons involved has been released. Officials from Fort Belvoir say that the victim services will be offered to anyone affected by this incident. And so finally got that under wraps there. I saw that come across the wire a little earlier today, and I totally forgot about that. All right, so I want to thank Yvonne Weldon for coming to the studio today, talking to us about restoring accountability, transparency from, and all about this wasteful spending and stuff like that that's going on in Austin, Texas. I want to thank you for doing that. I wish you well. Early voting starts tomorrow. Early voting goes on for 2 weeks. Election day is on November the 8th. So definitely get out there and vote. You should get a chance to vote during early voting. That way you can catch it during the weekend. Hey, you can go this Saturday and this Sunday coming up and go vote. Get out there and let your voice be heard. And
Michael, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate this.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming on. And don't forget, this week we're going to have the seminar at Central Texas Gun Works. So definitely come out for that. And that's going to be later on this week. So we usually have it at 6:30, starting at 6:30 to 8:30. We'll have some snacks or something for you. Maybe have some pizza, not sure. We're going to talk about some self-defense stuff. It's at Central Texas Gun Works on October 26th. October 26th at 6:30 p.m. Take a look. We're going to post the link on our website, so you can on the Facebook page and also Twitter, so you can go sign up and show up for that, because you need to learn self-defense from a legal perspective. Like I said before, we got several lawsuits that we're filing. We're coming after this administration. This administration is coming after you, so we're going after them. We're going to take the fight directly to Washington, D.C. We're going from Texas to D.C. We're going to stop them in their tracks. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.